Welcome to a special edition of the Office Hours. As most of you know, my name is John Fia. I chair the History Department at Messiah College, teach history there. We are taking the Office Hours on the road this summer. Our first stop, as you can see, the John Harris Mansion at Dauphin County Historical Society in Harrisburg. It's rush hour traffic. We're out here. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing here in this archive and in this library today. As some of you know and have been following the blog the way I've frequently told me, I've been working on this project on Presbyterians and the American Revolution. With the semester behind us, we are now out on the road here. I'm with two great research assistants who will be working with me all summer. You'll see them in forthcoming episodes of the Office Hours, Megan and Brianna. We'll hear from them in a second. We just spent about 3 hours in the Dauphin County Historical Society reading through the papers of John Elder. Now, some of you may not be familiar with Elder. He was a Presbyterian minister who was minister of the Paxton Presbyterian Church here in the Harrisburg area. Elder is probably best known for being one of the leaders, perhaps even the ringleader, of the Paxton Boy rioters, or the Paxton Boys, those Scots-Irish Presbyterians who killed Conestoga Indians in the 1760s, then eventually marched on Philadelphia to try to get the rest of the Conestogas who had fled to Philadelphia. They killed Conestoga Indians on what we might call today a reservation of Conestoga Indians that had been set forth by William Penn. They then moved and killed some more in a jail in Lancaster, and then again marched on Philadelphia. John Elder was not with them on the so-called march or the so-called riots, but we have a hunch that he was very influential in organizing these young men who participated in the Paxton riots. So we're learning a lot more about John Elder. We're reading through his letters and his papers, which are housed here at the Dauphin County Historical Society. This is the John Harris Mansion. John Harris, of course, the 18th century founder of Harrisburg. In the back is the archive and library where we're doing most of our work. First day so far, we've been sorting through the materials, trying to get a sense of which letters we're going to read more closely than the others. I have been working through a prayer and sermon book of Elder, trying to make sense of some of the spiritual dimensions of his life. And we'll be probably checking in throughout the summer with some various progress, the progress that we're making on this project. We're headed to the Presbyterian Historical Society next week to continue to do some research on this topic. And we're also doing this is also part of a larger consulting project that we're doing, which you'll hear a little bit more about in future episodes of the Office Hours. I'm here with Megan Keller, who's one of my research assistants for the summer. And Megan today had her first exposure to 18th century script, handwriting. What was it like, Megan?
It was a lot different. I am used to reading late 19th and early 20th century like union documents and corporate contracts and stuff like that, which were all typewritten, so it's pretty simple to read through it quickly. But this is all handwritten script, and you have like the F's and S's, that whole thing, so it's very difficult to be able to read.
No typewriters in the 18th century. I mean, there was typeset, but most of the Elder letters are handwritten. Well, they're all handwritten. For someone, by the way, as you started going through it, as you started moving through it over the course of the 3 hours we were in there, were you able to improve on your reading?
Yeah, I went from being able to just go like 1 or 2 words at a time, being able to get through like a sentence or two before I saw a word. I was like, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, most of the time I find with 18th century script, it's just a matter of practice, sort of reading through it, getting some of the little quirks. But it's certainly a challenge for the first time you're actually reading material like that. So I'm sure by the end of the summer, Megan, you'll be an expert on reading 18th century script.
Yep.
Brianna Lacasse is also one of my research assistants who'll be working this summer on the Presbyterian Revolution project and some other things that you'll hear about on future Office Hours. Brianna was just in there with us as well, reading through some of the Elder stuff. You had done some research already about Elder, so what was it like sort of encountering, what kind of research have you been doing so far for this project, and what was it like encountering Elder's writings for the first time?
Well, over the spring semester, I've been working with they call them the Paxton Papers, and that was the community response and the community outcry to the violence committed by the Paxton boys on the Indians. So I thought it was really interesting to actually start reading the Elder Papers, because he was kind of glorifying the violence and actually scolding his officers for not doing, as good a job as he thought that they could be doing. So it's really interesting to move from the community outcry to actually looking at Elder's perspective and what Elder was thinking.
Yeah, one of the fascinating things I think that we kind of discovered here in the first day was putting together the story that Brianna has been researching about Elder and the Paxton boys, putting that together with a prayer diary and a sermon book that we found from Elder. And we can almost trace, I was telling Brianna this when we were inside, we can almost trace what Elder was saying to his congregation in terms of spiritual exhortation and biblical exposition and so forth, roughly around the same time that the Paxton boys were attacking the Conestoga Indians. So that should make for some interesting narrative there as we move on. So we're going to continue, we're going to be here for another day or two, maybe a little bit more. We're transcribing some letters, and we're off to a good start, I think, here in May as we begin the summer research trip, and we're going to be taking the office hours on the road. So thanks, Brianna.